He's like a fairy tale dad. That's what my daughter said. Not to me, to her best friend on speakerphone, while looking at a picture of her and my ex-wife's new boyfriend, lounging at some beach I could never afford. I was outside in the car, waiting to drive her to school. Engine off, windows down. She didn't know I could hear. I didn't react. Just watched the neighbors' trash cans tilt in the wind. My name is Dean, 43. I used to run logistics for a regional supplier. These days I drive Uber nights and weekends to cover my daughter's tuition. I know every shortcut in the county and how to make a stranger feel safe at 2 a.m. But none of that fits in a college essay, so I never brought it up. I never complained when I had to sleep in the car between shifts. Never missed a parent-teacher night, even when I smelled like fast food grease and Febreze. I made every lunch, filled every permission slip, bought every pair of point shoes. When the HVAC went out in February, I fixed it myself with borrowed tools and a YouTube video. When she forgot her presentation on the kitchen counter, I turned around mid-ride and made it in time. I wasn't flashy, but I showed up. Then the college ex came back into the picture. He had a condo with a rooftop grill and a remote job that let him sleep in. He brought her concert tickets, took them out for sushi, bought matching sneakers like it was a sitcom. And suddenly, I was the tired guy who said no too often, the one who needed naps and didn't laugh at every joke, the one who wasn't magical. My ex called it a healthy reset, said our daughter needed to see her explore her happiness. I didn't argue. I just nodded. Because the moment you start begging, you lose more than just the argument. She moved out a week later, took our daughter with her. Since then, I've been the backup ride, the emergency contact, the one she calls when fairy tale dad has a startup call and forgets to show up. Last Tuesday, she texted at 11:42 p.m. "Can you pick me up? He's busy." I didn't say a word, just got in the car and drove. She came out of the apartment building with her backpack half zipped and her eyes puffy. Didn't explain. I didn't ask. I just turned on the heat and handed her a bottled water I kept in the glove compartment. She looked out the window, said nothing the whole ride home. Sometimes, silence is just guilt in disguise. The next day, she didn't mention it, just asked if I could help with a project for school. Said it was due Friday. I helped her cut the poster board, printed out the charts at the library, and even found her old glitter markers. She smiled when it was done. "Thanks, Dad," she said. Not offhand, not as an afterthought, like she meant it. It wasn't an apology, but it wasn't nothing. That night I got back in the car for my next shift. 12 rides, 4 drop-offs to bars, 2 to hospitals. Around 2:30 a.m., I stopped for coffee, scrolled through my phone while waiting for the cup. That's when I saw it. Her mom had posted a photo, her, the ex, and my daughter, all smiles, hands on shoulders. Caption, "Our little fairy tale." My chest tightened, not with rage, just weight, like holding a box you're not sure where to put down. But I didn't say anything. I just saved the image. Sometimes pain is useful, and sometimes silence is the sharpest reply. The first Monday after they moved in with him, I started driving nights. I didn't tell anyone, just turned off the porch light, grabbed my jacket, and signed into the app. Black Toyota, full tank, 5 stars. By the time I dropped off my third passenger, my daughter had posted a photo, the 3 of them at a late dinner, her, my ex, and him, matching wine glasses, warm lighting, captioned, "Finally a real family dinner." I just tapped to close the screen. My name is Dean, 45. I used to work in facilities at the local college, ran maintenance on classrooms, HVAC systems, server racks, the works. But tuition for a private high school doesn't care what your resume says. So I drove, 14 hours that week, 19 the next. I kept the windows open even when it got cold. It helped me stay awake. She'd still text sometimes, little things. "Can you send my blue hoodie?" Or, "I left my soccer cleats at your place." Never "how are you," never "thank you." I'd leave the stuff on the porch in a paper bag with her name written on it. Sharpie, all caps, like a package. Sometimes when I dropped things off late, I'd see his car in the driveway. BMW, black, polished like showroom glass, parked just close enough to block the sidewalk. He ran a startup, something with data automation, went viral for a college project once. People said he was a visionary, said he knew how to scale empathy, whatever that means. At first, I thought he might actually be a good guy. He remembered birthdays, brought her to practice, posted cheesy selfies of them at brunch with those sugar-rimmed juice glasses. One night I saw her comment under a picture. "He really gets me." I read it twice, then turned the phone over. At school drop-off, she barely spoke, always rushed, always texting someone else. One time she asked if I could park down the block instead of out front. "It's just easier," she said. "People get confused." Confused about what? I didn't ask. 2 weeks in, I noticed a change. She came to the car sniffling, said it was allergies. Her bag looked heavy. I offered to carry it, and she flinched. That night, I dropped her off at their place. He was at the door. Arms crossed. I waved. He didn't wave back. She got out quickly, didn't look back, didn't say goodbye. At work, people stopped asking how I was. At home, dishes sat in the sink longer. I stopped turning the porch light on. The house was quieter now. I could hear the fridge humming from the bedroom. I started leaving the radio off in the car. Too many ads. Too many songs I used to sing with her. One Friday, I picked her up from practice. She seemed off. "Everything all right?" She shrugged. "Yeah, just tired." A long pause, then she added, "We're going to the lake house this weekend." I hadn't known they had a lake house. "Sounds nice," I said. She nodded. "He says we all need time to bond." I didn't respond. Then she looked at me, really looked, like she noticed the lines under my eyes for the first time. "Do you still drive at night?" "Sometimes." She hesitated. "You don't have to, you know." "For what?" "For my school." He said he's happy to cover it. I almost pulled over. Instead, I just said, "It's handled." She turned back to the window. And for the rest of the ride, neither of us spoke. That night I packed her old drawings back into the drawer. The one with the finger paint sunrise and the little notes that used to say, "Best dad ever." I stood in the hallway with one of them in my hand, listening to the hum of the fridge, wondering when exactly I'd become unnecessary. I wasn't angry, not then, but I was starting to see the cracks. At the lake house that weekend, she posted a story. They were all smiling, but her smile looked tight. The caption read, "Weekend escape with my favorites." Except her arm was crossed, and she wasn't holding anyone's hand. Monday morning, my phone buzzed. It was a message from her. "Can you pick me up after school?" No emoji, no explanation, just that. And suddenly, the fridge didn't seem so loud anymore. She didn't say much when I picked her up that day. Didn't ask to stop at Blake's. Didn't scroll on her phone. Just slid into the passenger seat, zipped her jacket up to her chin, and stared out the window. I drove in silence. Not the heavy kind. The kind that waits. At a red light, I glanced over. Her knee was bouncing. She bit the inside of her cheek, a habit she'd picked up young, mostly when nervous before tests. "You good?" I asked. She nodded. Too quickly. "Yeah, just tired." But she wasn't tired. When I pulled into the driveway, she didn't move. "He called me ungrateful," she said finally, "because I didn't laugh at his stupid joke in front of his friends." I didn't answer. He said I embarrassed him. Still, I stayed quiet. Then he made Mom apologize to him for not raising me right. Her voice cracked. Just once. She got out before I could respond, slammed the door a little harder than usual, and disappeared inside. I stayed parked for a moment, looked at the empty house next door. The for sale sign was gone. Another family, maybe. Back inside, I heated up the leftovers she never ate. She'd once told me my pasta was aggressively mid. This time, she ate 2 bowls. No phone, no music, just quiet chewing and a mumbled thanks. That night, I dropped her back off. She lingered at the front door. looked back at me. "Hey," she said. "Thanks for dinner." I nodded. She opened the door, then paused. "Did you ever yell at Mom like that?" I shook my head. Didn't see the point. She didn't reply. Just went inside. The next morning I got a message from my ex. "You've been trying to turn her against him, haven't you? Don't think I don't see what you're doing." No greeting, no context, just venom. I didn't respond. 2 hours later, she called. I let it go to voicemail. "You've always been like this. Passive-aggressive. Manipulative. I trusted you to be part of this transition and now you're sabotaging it." I saved the message. Didn't delete it. Didn't replay it either. 2 days later, my daughter texted me from school. "Can you pick me up early?" No explanation. When I got there, she was already outside. Hoodie up, eyes red. We didn't talk until we were back in my apartment. "He told me to delete your number," she said. "Said you're a bad influence, that you're bitter and trying to win me over." She looked down. "He called you a loser." I didn't flinch. "He said you were probably still driving Ubers at night because you have no ambition." She waited for me to get mad, or at least defend myself. Instead, I stood, went to the kitchen, poured 2 glasses of water, set one in front of her. "I'm proud of every mile I drove to keep you in that school," I said. She looked at me, eyes glassy, jaw tense. "He makes me feel like I'm wrong, like nothing I say is right." I sat across from her. "You're not wrong." She exhaled, a long, uneven breath. "Do you think Mom sees it?" I shrugged. "She sees what she wants to." There was a pause, then, "I used to think he was perfect, like the kind of dad you read about. Trips, big gestures, always smiling. But it's like, none of it's real when it's just us." She wiped her eye with the sleeve of her hoodie. "And with you, I never had to guess what mood you were in." I didn't know what to say to that. So I didn't try. We just sat there. That night, I drove her back again. No words. Just before she got out, she said, "I don't think I like living there." I didn't press. Just said, "Door's always open." She looked at me. This time, she didn't look away quickly. I know. She got out. Walked to the front door. Didn't look back. But she didn't have to. The last time we had dinner together was the Sunday after her math exam. I picked her up outside the library. She didn't say hi, just got in the car and opened TikTok. I told her we could go anywhere she liked. She said, "Just somewhere that won't make me smell like fryer oil." We ended up at a vegan cafe with ironic art on the walls. I couldn't pronounce half the menu. She didn't look up from her phone once. I tried asking about the exam. She said, "It was fine." I asked about her group project. She said, "Can we not?" When the food arrived, I made a quiet joke about the dish. It looked like compressed moss with gold flakes. She rolled her eyes. "Chris gets this all the time. You're just not used to healthy food." That one landed harder than it should have. A week later, I saw her and Chris on her mom's Instagram story. They were at some influencer-run escape room downtown. He was wearing a blazer over a hoodie. She was laughing at something he whispered. I zoomed in. She was wearing the bracelet I gave her at the hospital when she broke her wrist in 6th grade. I wasn't tagged. The real fracture came at the school fundraiser. They were hosting a silent auction for scholarship funds. I signed up to help set up tables. Chris and my ex arrived just before it started. Late, of course, but with lattes in hand. He made a show of being charming. Hugged everyone, complimented the principal's tie, told a junior he should consider drama school. Then he got on stage and started telling a story about raising teenagers. "Sometimes," he said, "you have to let them fail. That's when they grow." He smiled like he'd invented wisdom. My daughter was in the front row, beaming. I was in the back, folding leftover flyers. When it ended, I walked over to her, offered a ride home. Chris stepped in, said, "We're grabbing dinner, rain check?" She didn't even look at me, just said, "I'm going with them." That night, I messaged her. Just a simple, "Hope you're okay. Let me know if you need anything." No reply. 2 days later, she came over to pick up some books. She barely stepped inside, stayed near the door like I was contagious. I said, "I made dinner, if you're hungry." She looked at the plate, then at me. "You always make everything about guilt," she said. I froze. "What?" She crossed her arms. "You act like you're this selfless martyr, but honestly, you just dump all your feelings on me. It's exhausting. That hurt in a place I didn't know could still ache." I tried to respond, but the words knotted up. She grabbed the books and left without another word. The silence lasted 4 days. Then I got a call from her school. She'd been involved in a shouting match in the hallway. Apparently, Chris showed up unannounced to drop off lunch and got into it with one of the teachers when asked to leave. He called the faculty small-minded and accused them of bias. My daughter saw the whole thing. The school counselor said she walked out mid-period and didn't return. That night, she didn't go back to her mom's. She didn't come to me either. She just vanished for a few hours. Her location was turned off. When she finally texted, it was one line. "I'm at Nana's. I drove there." Her grandmother said she was asleep in the guest room, headphones in, didn't want to talk, but her bag was on the couch, and next to it, the bracelet, the one I gave her. She'd taken it off. That, somehow, said more than any argument. For the first time since the divorce, I felt something shift. Not relief, not hope, just stillness. Like the ground had stopped moving, and what was left was mine to walk, or not. I didn't text her again that night. Didn't call. Just sat outside in the car, engine off, windows cracked, watching the porch light flicker. And I waited. It was a Thursday night when she showed up. No warning, no text, just the sound of my doorbell, followed by silence. I opened the door and there she was. Hoodie too thin for the weather, eyes puffed, mascara half faded. No mother. No Chris. Just her. She didn't speak at first, just stood there with her hands in her sleeves like she used to do when she was 5 and afraid to admit she broke something. "Can I come in?" she asked. I stepped aside. She didn't go to the couch, didn't look around, just stood near the doorway like she didn't know if she was supposed to be there. "I'm sorry," she said. I waited. "For what I said," she added. "For how I acted." Still, I didn't answer. Not yet. She reached into her backpack and pulled out a small object. A photo. Curled at the edges, colors faded. It was the one I'd kept on my dashboard for years. Her in a ladybug costume, laughing so hard her eyes disappeared. I thought it was lost. "I found it in a drawer," she said. "Thought maybe you'd want it back." She held it out. I didn't take it. "You remember that day?" she asked. "You ran after the ice cream truck barefoot. You dropped your wallet but still came back with a popsicle." I nodded. "You were out of breath for like 5 minutes." I almost smiled. She looked down. "Mom said I shouldn't come. Said it would just confuse things." I raised an eyebrow. "She still thinks you disappeared to punish her. To punish me." I waited. She doesn't get it. "Chris," he yelled at me last night. Not even about something big, just because I asked if he could stop vaping in the car. She laughed bitterly. Said I was being dramatic, that if I didn't like it, I could walk. I clenched my jaw. She told me he was just stressed, that I should be more understanding, that he's trying. She looked up. "But you never had to try to be a dad. You just were." I finally took the photo from her hand, held it gently. The corner was torn. She sat on the floor crossing her legs like she used to do when she'd watch movies with me and fall asleep halfway. "I used to call him my fairy tale dad," she said quietly. "I think I just wanted a story that felt easier. One where I didn't have to be angry at anyone." She looked at me. Really looked this time. "But fairy tales don't pay tuition. They don't drive through the night and wake up 3 hours later to pack a lunch. They don't remember birthdays or pick you up at 2 a.m. without asking why. She swallowed. Real dads do. I didn't say anything, just lowered myself to sit beside her. We sat there for a while. No talking, no fixing, just being. She leaned her head on my shoulder. "Can I stay a while?" she asked. I nodded. After a few minutes, she stood and walked to the kitchen like she knew the layout better than her mother's new condo. She poured 2 glasses of water, set them on the table. We didn't talk about Chris anymore. Didn't need to. She asked if we still had that old movie, the one with the fox and the hound. Said she remembered watching it with me when she was 7 and crying so hard she used her whole sleeve as a tissue. We found it. Watched it on the same couch she used to fall asleep on. Halfway through, she rested her head on my arm and whispered, "You were always there, weren't you?" I nodded once, and she whispered, almost like she was trying it out for the first time in years, "Thanks, Dad." I looked straight ahead, didn't say anything, didn't need to. 3 weeks later, my ex-wife showed up. It was a Sunday, quiet. I was trimming the front hedge, not for looks, just to keep the city from leaving another warning on my door. She pulled up in her leased SUV, same one I used to fill with gas. I didn't wave, didn't stop trimming. She stepped out in heels too sharp for the sidewalk and called my name like we were still married. I kept my eyes on the hedge. "I just want to talk," she said. I clipped a little slower, not enough to be obvious. "She told me she's been here," she added. "She said you didn't ask her to come, that it was her decision." I nodded once. Still didn't look. "She's barely talking to me now. Says she needs space." Her voice cracked, like she was the one abandoned. She said, "You didn't even say anything. Just let her sit on the floor and cry." Finally, I turned. "She didn't need words," I said. "She needed to be somewhere safe." She blinked as if confused by the simplicity. "She's just a kid," I added. "But you already knew that. You just needed someone who'd believe your version of the story." She crossed her arms. "So now you're the victim?" I didn't answer. She said she called you Dad again. Her voice dropped lower. I haven't heard her say that in years. I nodded. She looked around like maybe something had changed. Maybe I'd painted the house or bought new furniture, but everything looked the same. Except me. "She'll come around," she said. "Chris is gone." I raised an eyebrow. "Gone?" "He left. Said this wasn't what he signed up for." I nodded. Fairy tales usually end fast. She didn't laugh. She looked smaller now, not in stature but in certainty. "I thought you'd want to know," she said, as if that were enough. "I already knew," I replied. A few more seconds passed. Then she sighed and walked back to her car. Didn't slam the door. Didn't cry. Just drove away like the story was over and she wasn't sure who to blame for the ending. That night, my daughter came over again. She didn't knock, just texted here and let herself in with the old spare I'd never removed from under the porch. She brought 2 slices of pie from the bakery that used to be our Saturday routine. We ate on the couch. After a while, she pulled out her laptop and started editing a school project. I stayed quiet, sipping my coffee. Then, halfway through a video clip, she muttered, "Can you believe I almost let him teach me how to ride?" I looked at her. "Bike?" She nodded. "He told me I should unlearn everything you taught me. Said your way was outdated." "And?" "I told him your way was the only reason I never fell." She didn't smile when she said it. She didn't need to. I felt something catch in my throat, but I didn't show it. She stayed until late, fell asleep on the couch again, curled under the same blanket she used 10 years ago. In the morning, she woke up groggy and asked, "Do we still have that pancake mix you like?" I nodded. "Top shelf." She stood, stretched, and walked toward the kitchen, then paused. "Thanks, Dad," she said, this time without hesitation. I didn't answer. I just let the silence say everything. When she left later that morning, I stood on the porch watching her pull out of the driveway. No big goodbyes, no speeches. Just a quiet nod through the window before she turned the corner. Some fathers raise their voices, others just keep showing up. The gentleman's revenge isn't loud, but it's always personal. If this felt personal, make it personal. Subscribe now, and don't miss tomorrow's story.